point. Washington Post columnist Josh Rogin is joining me now to discuss more on this. You just heard from Isaac Dovere. Kamala Harris is meeting with Netanyahu today. She was the first person in the Biden administration to publicly call for a ceasefire. Do you expect her to be harder on Netanyahu than Joe Biden has been?
Sure. Well, you couldn't have imagined a month ago when Speaker Johnson invited Prime Minister Netanyahu to speak to Congress that Kamala Harris would be the presumptive nominee and that Joe Biden would essentially be a lame duck. And now that she has this new role, what she says in this meeting with Netanyahu will be extremely important. And what her office is already putting out is that she's going to deliver a tough message, that she's going to warn him that if he doesn't shift his policies to be more in line with both what the Biden administration wants in terms of securing a ceasefire, but also in terms of giving more aid and dignity and agency to the Palestinians in Gaza, that the policy could change under her watch. That they're not saying that, they're just signaling that. And that's something that Netanyahu has to take very seriously. On the other hand, if she doesn't win, then Trump comes back in and Netanyahu will have a free hand. So it could go either way for them.
You mentioned Trump. He is also going to be meeting with Donald Trump, who is the presumptive Republican presidential nominee. What do you expect there, and how unusual is that? He's hedging his bets, clearly.
Yeah, no, every foreign leader in the world is trying to make inroads with the Trump administration, whether you're President Zelensky or Prime Minister Kishida or Prime Minister Netanyahu, you're trying to meet with Trump or someone close to Trump. And I think that's actually totally normal and should be non-controversial. But I think what you'll see in the meeting between Netanyahu and Trump is a love fest, and a promise from Trump that all of these pressures that the Biden administration and especially a possible Harris administration are threatening would not occur under his watch. And of course, Netanyahu is going to love that message. So he'll have a very stark difference between his two interactions. And like I said, he can't be sure, none of us can be sure who's going to win. So I think he just has to play it cool and try to listen to both and not anger either. And that's the needle that he's trying to thread while he's here in Washington.
I do want to ask you about this moment where Netanyahu, speaking to Congress, went after pro-Palestinian protesters here in America who have been protesting because they are angry about the death toll and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Here's what he said about American protesters.
I have a message for these protesters. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
What do you make of what he said in some of his comments? He also said that the protesters were pro-Hamas, for rapists and killers. And, some of the protesters, a good deal of them are Jewish Americans.
Right. I mean, I've been talking to protesters in Washington about this for the last 10 months, and a very small portion are those who actually support Hamas or what they're doing. The vast majority have what I consider to be legitimate concerns with Israeli conduct during the war and the treatment of Palestinians, and that's shared. Those concerns are shared by a lot of Israelis, not just Jewish Americans like this Jewish American, but a lot of Israelis and every age group on the ground. So Netanyahu, I think, missed an opportunity to acknowledge that these are legitimate concerns and denigrated these protesters, and I don't think that's good for Israel or for the Palestinians, to be honest.
Josh Rogin, thank you so much for bringing your perspective here to us this morning. A new hour of CNN News Central starts right now.